This podcast is part of the Pop-Up University series, showcasing collaborations between early career researchers at the University of Sheffield and South Yorkshire creatives.
This project is a collaboration between early career researcher Dr. Sandivel Rosales Cadena, Angela Highton, Library Associate Director, and Aranza Barrutia, National Fairground and Circus Archive Collections Manager. This podcast consists of 2 episodes. It also includes a video gallery with beautiful images from the National Fairground and Circus Archive collections. Welcome to Circus of Confidence, a body image revolution. Get ready to flip the script on body image, shatter stereotypes, and embrace your unique beauty. Step into the enchanting world of our podcast, where we combine the magic of the circus with the transformative power of self-love and empowerment. Join us as we explore inspiring stories of dazzling performers and uplifting conversations that redefine body image and unlock your inner strength. It's time to embrace your uniqueness and let your confidence soar under the big top of life. Are you ready to embrace your inner circus performer and write your own narrative? Tune in and be part of the most extraordinary journey to empowerment. This podcast, Able Being Disabled, explores issues of body image and empowerment in the world of circus performance. Let's start by introducing our special guest for this episode, a circus performer who will share her personal journey and experiences. Pharrell Cox, actor, aerialist, dramaturg, facilitator, and theater maker. Training at Del Arte International, East 15 Acting School, and on the renowned clown Philippe Gaulier. Pharrell has performed nationally and internationally in her career, prioritizing minorities and marginalized voices, and creating accessible and inclusive working environments. Pharrell, thank you for sharing your experiences with us today. Can you tell us about your disability and how it has impacted your life?
Okay, so I have scoliosis, I have a leg discrepancy, and I'm neurodivergent. I get quite a lot of chronic pain, so having to manage pain, working is kind of difficult, and especially as I've got older, symptoms change, so it's not the same every day. So it's sort of trying to check in with myself a lot of the time and understand it before I can tell somebody else, but that isn't always doable because I might experience something and not realize I'm experiencing it, or oh hey, this is a new thing. So with my neurodivergency, that is to do a lot with depression and anxiety. And yeah, as a performer, a circus performer, you've got to be very confident. So there's a lot of masking which is involved, which can be very difficult and draining, especially when I'm managing pain as well. On top of that, it's been a struggle because you have to sort of explain it to people, even though you're explaining something that what you're living with and what you're still trying to understand and navigate yourself is one thing. And then in an industry which seems very buoyant and resilient, and because circus, you're always pushing your limits. And how can you push your limits if you don't want to get out of bed in the morning? Or how can you push your limits if you physically can't move?
It must be difficult for you because you work with your body, what people can see, but at the same time, you have to deal with what people don't see, which is depression and anxiety. Have you ever felt dissatisfied with your body, or you felt that your body let you down?
Yeah, so I think especially when I started training and maybe I don't know, when I was young and impressionable and naive, I was like, "Okay, well, I have to do it this way. This is the set way I have to do things." Because there's certain poses and there's certain ways you have to train, or there's certain conditioning, or there's certain ways you have to stretch. I felt really upset and I couldn't understand it, and I think so obviously there's these things what are slightly different about me, but to everybody else I sort of look very able-bodied, so why can't I do these things? Why isn't my body working like this? I think it was like the lack of knowledge in certain spaces of, okay, well, you can actually adapt this straddle. You're not gonna be completely equal because your body's not completely equal. You can take as much time as you need, and I think as I've got older, I've done a lot of self-learning of having to adapt, and don't get me wrong, I think that's one of my strengths and my beauties about me, that I can adapt, and even when I'm teaching, people, I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna adapt this, there's not just one way to do it." But that is also really difficult and challenging, being the one who has to be like, "Okay, let's adapt this." Why can't it be made for me? Why can't it be for me, you know? Why can't the instruction just be for me? So that's where the challenges come, and then I guess with the depression, anxiety, it's like, okay, if this wasn't my body and I wasn't in this space, everything would feel a bit easier and be a bit easier if my body was different. But I'm very grateful for my body. I'm so, so grateful that I have learned these skills to adapt. It's one of the things that really drives me when I teach, what really drives me when I perform and show people what I can do, because we're all different, and circus looks different on everybody, and I think we need to really embrace that.
There are a lot of important things that you just shared with us, because you are talking about being flexible. You have this flexible mind that help you to understand that you would not be able to do the same thing as the others, but you would be able to do it in your own way. And the fact that you talk about being grateful, I think it plays a very important role, because appreciating your body, being grateful for what your body can do, I think is what has helped you to realize that, well, you are different, you are still here, you are still a human, and you can do what you do, even when you are not able to do it the same way as the others.
Exactly, and it's opened my sense of, like, creativity, like creating work and making work, and what shapes I can create, and what I don't know, how fast I can spin or where I can hold certain positions. Like, there's a thing called a toe hang, and because of my leg discrepancy, I can't flex my left foot. And usually people do it with 2 feet. And I was like, well, I can't do it with 2 feet. I've got to do it with one. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of badass, isn't it?
You mentioned this at the beginning. You were understanding towards yourself, which is a bit of what self-compassion is. Do you think self-compassion plays a role in helping artists embracing their body and talents?
Yeah, it does help. I think, yeah, when you've got to love yourself before other people can love you, that classic thing. But we do need it from other people as well. We do need it from other people, because you can have as much self-compassion and self-love, but if you don't get it from others, it's detrimental too. I think we're humans, and we need that connection from other people, and I think we all want to be liked and we all want to be loved. I think when it comes down to it. So yeah, I think self-compassion is a huge part of it to understand yourself and understand your boundaries, I think, and help you move and navigate through things. But I definitely think you need compassion from others as well.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because you as a performer, you can see the immediate reaction of the person who's
Exactly.
watching you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like a performer's egotistical. Oh, it's a little bit egotistical, you know what I mean? We want the love from everybody else. Like, what do people say? Like, you either go into performing to hide or go into performing to show off. And I think that's a real thing, isn't it? So yeah, we want that instant gratification.
I guess my next question is about how do circus performers support one another in developing self-compassion, addressing body image issues? How do you support you among this community?
I think it's definitely getting better. I think for a long time, personally, I saw that people were trying to fit one image and maybe this is also to do with like racial diversity as well, like tall, blonde, white. That was a thing that people aspired to and was the face of circus for a long time. What we saw in the mainstream, at least, and I think it's slightly changing. People are being slightly alternative, are being slightly braver to change things and do things a little bit different. And I think that's where the compassion and how people are embracing one another, the quirkiness, the weirdness, taking chances. And I think especially out of lockdown, where people were like, "Hey, I can't," especially aerialists, where they're like, "Hey, I can't hang or dangle. What else can I create? What other sort of creativity have I got?" And I think that's where the compassion lies now. I think people sort of embracing their differences and understanding that there is difference a little bit more.
Yeah, I think what you said is very important about minorities. And it's true about everyone trying to fit to one image. So, can you tell us about the role of diversity? What role does body diversity play? Or can you tell us how the industry, the circus industry, celebrates or encourage that diversity?
Okay, it's really, really difficult. Because I still think there honestly, I still think there's work to be done. We've got some great companies out there who are working to center marginalized groups, and I think that's really great. But I think there is still more work to be done, and I don't have the answers for that. I think it just definitely comes down to there isn't one way to circus, and there isn't one image to circus, and I think it involves everybody when you diversify it, and I think that comes down to, like, the director in the space, the people who they've worked with, if it's like a big production I'm talking about. If it's a costume designer, when they get into the space, like, how are they working with these bodies? Like, are they actually making the costumes to, like, fit and work? And then I'm talking about that, like, physical disability, like, or sensory needs or, racial differences. Like, has this person worked with these, are they asking the artist, like, what they feel comfortable in? Yeah? How they move, and it's not just how they move. Do they feel comfortable in this outfit? And music, everything like that. I think, yeah, it's the whole team, it's the whole community of who you're working with. Have they had experience working with people with differences or who are different to them?
You mentioned about having to teach people that there is an alternative way to do things. Can you tell us more about that and your place within it?
I think coming from a like minority group, we have struggles and we have challenges, and we want to navigate through the world like like everybody else. And I think it's a common thing for us to sort of teach and mentor and almost fit that position. And it is tiresome. And it's one of those, it's really difficult because it's one thing of like, how are people gonna know? But also, people need to do the work themselves. And also, there's so much emotion involved in it because if you don't say something, are you then gonna shut down? Are your needs and wants gonna be met? It's one of those really difficult things, and also it's like that thing of people learning for themselves. They might be learning the information, but are they actually taking it in and understanding it properly? Maybe that's just an anxiety what I have. It's really difficult because I think in certain situations you can sort of say or suggest things, or but also there's situations where I've been in and maybe peers have been in where they have just taken that mentoring role and it's unpaid labor, you know? So yeah, there's a fine line between like getting your needs and wants met and playing that role in this production or in this job or in this friendship group or whatever group you're in, and then you're not getting the thing what you're actually there to do met. You're now this other role whilst other people can go home, eat their food and go to bed. You're still thinking about it, you're derobing it, you're being the therapist in yourself and in your mind, and you're protecting everybody else and protecting yourself. I think everybody just needs to do a lot of learning and getting the right people in the space.
So, what would you tell to the industry, to the circus industry? What would be your messages to the producers, to all the people involved in the circus industry? So there could be more inclusion, more diversity. What would be your message to them?
I think the first thing would be bold, take some risks, and risks are different to everybody and every person. I know sometimes risk lies with financials, but yeah, be bold and take risks. If you are checking boxes, what is your reasoning behind checking boxes? Really think about that. What is the reason for that? And be truthful for that. And then there's one thing hiring somebody for diversity, but then what are you going to do in that space? What are you going to do in that room? How is it then catered for that individual? How is that person then going to be safe? And it's okay to ask these things. Yeah, what are you doing internally, and what are your reasonings why? And I think everybody should have an access rider. And an access rider is basically how you work in a space. What are your wants and needs? How is it going to make you work better? Basically, what are your boundaries? Yeah.
As we wrap up this episode, I'd like to thank our guest, Farrell, for sharing her incredible story with us. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive, embrace your body, and be kind to yourself.
If this podcast raises any concerns about your body image and or your mental health, you're encouraged to book an appointment to see a GP. Thanks for listening. Find out more about Pop-Up University on the University of Sheffield player.